All right, guys. I wanted to give you just a quick overview of this goal setting worksheet and give you some of the notes and help you understand my intention for creating this. So, like I talked about in the original, in that the video I sent out before, um, we're going to go through vision goal setting, performance goal setting, and process goals. And I just want to do a quick. I want to try and keep this under like 5 to 10 minutes. Education about each one of those pieces and let you guys get into filling these out over the next few days. So first and foremost, like we talked about, we're going to start with vision goals. Vision goals are the goal that defines who you want to become. And I think for most of you, rather than focusing on an outcome, I want you to focus on becoming a person who can achieve the outcome that is desired. Simple example of this, instead of focusing on trying to make it to the CrossFit Games, if that's your goal, or make it to the podium at this competition, just try to become a world-class CrossFitter. I think something like that allows you to identify more with the process and less with the outcome. I have found, and just from guiding people and through reading and through my own experience, that obsessing over the outcome is probably the quickest and easiest way to drain someone's motivation. Because when they recognize that there's like a big span or a big gap between their current level and where they want to go, that seems insurmountable. So focusing on your vision rather than using your vision to guide your process, that is one of the biggest challenges. So while I want you to set these because I think they are what, they point the compass in the direction we want to go, I think it's important, but don't get obsessed. Don't become overly focused on the vision or the outcome. Use this to guide your process. So I also think anytime you're going to undertake a task that is uh, as as momentous as training and the way that many of you take your or consider your training, I think it's important to ask yourself some questions because the reality is that these things take sacrifice and over time it can wear you down and it can grind you down. So I think it's important to ask yourself some really important questions about your vision goal. So first and foremost, why does this matter to you? I actually want you to think about that because I think that defining your why is incredibly important. And I think it's important to ask yourself those hard questions because this is what you're going to go back to when things are tough, because that's inevitable. When obstacles arise, this is the thing that you lean back on. So why does this matter to you? How does it align with your values? If you haven't spent any time thinking about what your values are as an athlete or as a person, you should probably spend some time in the next couple of weeks doing that and seeing how your training aligns with that. What is the specific outcome or what result is intended? There are going to be benefits and there are going to be consequences to these decisions. There's no way that you can achieve something worth achieving without there being some consequences, and the benefit needs to outweigh those consequences based on your values. Um, Define success for us as a coach athlete team. Define what success looks like for you, and then figure out what resources you have. Is it your family? Is it your friends? Is it your gym? Is it your coaches? Determine what resources you have to help you move towards that goal. If you haven't reached out, if you haven't been utilizing those resources, that's something that you can really do in the future to help improve your performance. And finally, what obstacles do you foresee holding you back? These are things that we should address and take precautions and actually like think through what those obstacles might be over time. So I left you a big note section, and I want you to use this to kind of create that discussion with yourself. But setting the vision goal, it's relatively straightforward. Um, the next piece is our performance goal, and essentially, performance goals are they are the metrics or the benchmarks. These are the things that you need to be able to achieve in order to be on the path to achieve that outcome or vision goal. So I want you to go through in all the qualities or all the aspects of the sport and come up with at least one concrete performance metric that you strongly believe will lead to your vision goal. I think they should be things that are achievable in a shorter time frame. So as an example, if you're someone who snatches, say, 255 pounds, I don't think it's realistic to think that you would be able to move to a 300-pound snatch in 12 weeks. Choose something that you believe will lead you where you want to go, but is achievable in a shorter time frame. And I know there's a lot of talk about SMART goals. I've heard this so many times throughout my coaching career. I don't think you have to put like a hard defined time limit on it, but I absolutely do think it should be something that's achievable and it needs to be measurable. And I think these are things we can discuss on our calls as well, but get this in here because I think this is how you build confidence, to be completely honest. You check off the list of things that you know you need to be able to achieve to get to where you want to go. My notes here, just performance goals put the meat on the skeleton that is your vision goal. Your vision goal is just like a bare tree, and this helps you kind of fill it out. While you're on your training journey, hitting these benchmarks helps reinforce that you're on the right track. It builds your confidence and actually builds your motivation versus looking at the top of the mountain and saying, oh man, I'm so far away, because then you are, succumbing to the grind of training. So go through this, spend some time, actually think about what metrics might lead you to the place that you want to go. Where are you at now? Those things should be identified in here so we can discuss them easily on our call. And then another thing I put in here, I just wanted to put this in as more of an education piece. This is our session performance goals. So while these are season performance goals, I think you should also be setting session to session performance goals. Now, these don't have to span long periods of time. You can set them for each and every training session. Before you go into the session, write down what your objective is. Write down what you want to hit. I've given some examples here. A simple one is hit 9 out of 10 snatches at 225 in a weightlifting session. Another good example would be complete all sets of wall ball unbroken in the Metcon. Those are simple, easily measurable performance goals that if you achieve those on a daily basis, over time will accumulate and lead you to your season performance goals. I think to make them most effective before your training session, write them down on a whiteboard, write them down on your training log or something like that. And then after the session, go back and do a review to see if you achieved what you said you wanted to. It helps to hold you accountable. And then finally, the process goals. These are essentially the stepping stones. These are the things that you're going to need to do in order to achieve those performance goals. The process leads to the performance, and over time, you accumulate enough of those performance benchmarks and you achieve your outcome or vision. So these are the things that we have control over. I and you don't have control over whether or not you hit a 275-pound snatch or hit your muscle ups consistently in a training session. What you do have control over are the daily and weekly habits and behaviors that lead you to that kind of success. So what I want you to do is go through and actually think through the process of trying to achieve your goals. And when you and I sit down for our discussions, this is what's going to help guide your training program design. These are the things that I think are important for you to have buy-in to your training program. I'm giving some examples here. If your goal is to improve your snatch, then setting a process goal of snatching 3 times per week, or spending 15 minutes on technical warm-up before each snatch session. All right, these are things that are intentional and it's very clear and things that you have control over. Another great example would be tracking your running paces or your running performance in a separate spreadsheet for every single running session. If you're someone who wants to get better at running, keep track of it, right? I think these are the things that are very important, and keep it all in one place. So I've given you some examples of process goals. Don't use my examples unless running is one of the things you want to achieve. However, I think that these are the things that are going to create the most buy-in. That's what will lead to success in these season performance goals. And over time, if you continue to walk this path, this is what will lead to your vision goals. What I want you guys to do is actually take this sheet. I want you to print it out. I want you to write these out, because I think there's something to handwriting your goals. I say that and I write everything down. I think that is incredibly important for learning, for commitment. And then take a picture of it, email it to me, text it to me, WhatsApp it to me, however you want to get it to me. Just make sure I have it before we get onto our post-open review calls and our planning calls.